Right, first loose lead session is in the book. So this is for owners in between sessions to practice. I've made this video because owners typically get stuck at a few key points. So I just wanted to address those and just have this as a reminder for you. So off the back of our first session, your dog has now acquired the skills. It can perform the behaviour we want, which is essentially with your dog in that quadrant of space behind us, invisible barrier, no nose in front of toes, and they can do that and they can perform that behaviour. Now we need to just make sure that we practice it properly. Otherwise, we're just going to revert to the old behaviour. The reason this is important is because I don't want a dog that's just pulling me all over the place and, oh, I want to sniff that, I want to go and look at that, I want to pull towards the dog, especially if it's a reactive dog, because your frustrated greeters need to understand that there is a way of walking towards things and it isn't pulling. But I think more holistically, like it's a standard, like it's a basic behaviour for any dog to be able to walk on the lead without pulling. So we're trying to bed that in. We're trying to make sure that the dog understands what's expected of them when they're on the lead. Follow these steps and we can make this stick. Now, the reason that the progress might be slow with this is because typically when people come to me, their dogs might be a few years old and they've got years of repetition of performing the thing that we don't want in this case, which is pulling on the lead. So if you think about the dog's behaviour, it's like a rope with loads of knots tied in it of things that we don't want. So we're one by one undoing those knots. One session with me isn't enough to undo all of those years of behaviour. And if you think about this from a numbers perspective, if we just give some easy numbers, so on a weekly basis, if you take your dog out for a lead walk and they have 200 repetitions of pulling you, and then they do an hour session with me and they have 0 repetitions of pulling you, so that number hasn't gone any higher, and they also have 20 repetitions of getting reward for the thing that we do want, we're still at 180 deficit. So it's super important that the next week and well, forever really, we make sure that balances out and there's more good repetitions and less bad ones. Every time your dog pulls on the lead and it works, that strengthens that behavior. So the behavior works, so the dog is likely to do it more. And the process of pulling towards something is reinforcing for the dog, because the dog pulls, then it gets to the thing it wants, it sniffs or whatever. That is enough of an intrinsic reward for the dog to go, that lead pulling worked, I'm going to do it again next time I see something I want to sniff. So we need to reframe this for the dog, that you can go and sniff things, you can go and see the dog, you can do all of those things, but you can do it calmly and at my pace because you naturally walk faster than me. So for the next couple of weeks, I want you to scrap your normal walk. So your normal walk where your dog would not naturally pull you, you go for 30 minutes around the block, whatever it is, in the bin. Just do short sessions, 5 to 10 minutes of focused training work. These are training walks. The dog is in training mode and we are just training loose lead walking. If your dog's main source of enrichment, if the lead walk is the main event, it's the best thing in the dog's life, we're doing it wrong. Because I would much rather your dog got enrichment from scatter feeding, play and off lead freedom than walks around the block. Walks around the blocks are boring. They should be an A to B to get to something more exciting, and only then are we able to ask the dog to perform this behavior because we're happy that we're meeting the other fulfillment needs. I always say fulfillment goes up, problem behaviors go down. Fulfillment goes down, problem behaviors go up. So 2 to 3 sessions a day, 5 to 10 minutes, 0 repetitions of pulling. That dog will not pull you on these walks. That's how you're going to get the best outcomes. Now, I always say when you do loose lead walking, there are 3 potential outcomes for the dog. So one of them is you pull me and that doesn't work. Right, I happen to have a very small dog. So I've had to put the camera nice and low and I'm stood far back. Now I'm going to throw a bit of food in front of him here and I'm going to show you that this is how we get 0 repetitions of pulling. So he's super food motivated. He's going to want this. I'm going to throw it in front of him and he's going to see it. And it's right on the path there. So I'm going to tell him now that you know that thing's there, you're going to want to pull towards it. He wouldn't normally pull me, so I'm setting him up to fail here. And all I'm going to say to him is, if you pull me, we can't move towards it. If you don't, we can. So you can see he's already pulling because he wants to go towards it. So I'll just move him back in position. Take down to be rough, good boy. Then we walk towards it. And if he pulls, which sod's law he won't now, we'll throw it again. Say pulls, no. Come backwards, come backwards, come backwards. And you can see we don't need to be rough with this. Look, dog's next to me. Then we move forward again. Now we walk nicely and he can get his treat. Now, by the very nature that you're watching this video, you're not going to need to set your dog up to fail. So I've had to set him up to pull me because I knew he wouldn't pull me. So you're going to have your dog pulling towards stuff all the time, and you just need to then stop that behavior. So you can stop, we can move backwards, which is my preferred method, move the dog back, get him in position, then go again. Or you can completely change direction, which I'll typically use for capturing eye contact, but I'll talk through that with you in your sessions more. So that's outcome one. The dog pulls and it never moves forward. So we never get any forward momentum from pulling. Right, I'm going to show you outcome two. So I'm walking along, dog's walking next to me, but not giving me eye contact. He's giving me a little bit there, but the dog's walking next to me. So we can just keep moving forward because the dog's walking nicely behind me or next to me, sniffing away. But we don't need to do anything here. Like we're just enjoying the walk. Now what I might do is I might include some opportunities for him to go sniff, because I'm telling him I don't want you to sniff every single lamppost. So when he walks nicely like this, I'm not marking anything, I'm not giving any treats, but I might say to him, go sniff, and then give him some freedom. You can use whatever word. Okay, whatever. So now he's over sniffing the grass. And I've given him that opportunity to have some sniffing time and some freedom, because we don't want to just take away all the time. So now he's having some sniffing time because he walked nicely next to me. So we didn't do any marking and rewarding of eye contact there. I just said to him, you walked really nicely next to me, so you can go and have some sniffing time. Right, so third option. So we've got number one, pulling, which never works. We've got number two, walking nicely next to me. We can occasionally reward that with some sniffing time. But essentially that just means that we keep our cadence, we keep moving forward, which is also rewarding to the dog because the dog wants to go for a walk and exercise. So option three is where you're going to build most of the behavior change. So this is where you're going to reinforce what you do want to see. And this is the bit that owners mess up because they don't reinforce enough. And I've had owners come out with me and not even bring treats. Like, you should be reinforcing far more than you think you should. So this one, we're walking along. Yes, every time he looks at me, I'm going to reinforce him. Yes. Now this might seem a lot, yes, but I'm making that spot in my right hand pocket and behind me the most valuable point on this walk. Yes. And you can see he stays there because that's where all the good stuff happens. He thinks he's dropped one. Come on. Yes. So what have I just told the dog there? I've told him three things can happen on this walk. A, you can pull me and we're not going to go anywhere, and that's going to be really frustrating for you and me. B, you can walk nicely next to me and we can just carry on and we can just cruise on together, and we're going to reward that with opportunities to sniff. C, you're going to walk on next to me, but every time you check up at me and give me eye contact, I'm going to mark it, yes, and reward. Right, so your reinforcement rules. So reinforcement should be a marker word, which you should have charged, and there's obviously a separate video on marker word charging. People don't put enough money in this bank. You need that marker charge so we can feed back to the dog they've done the right thing. This does a couple of different things. It increases the transactional nature in which you can train, because you can say, you just did a good thing, yes, food. That's one side of it. The other thing is you'll start to get in a flow state because the dog will get little dopamine hits from every time it does something right. And when your dog is in that mindset, that's that training mindset, and they will start seeking more of the reinforcement. So they'll want to do more of what you want them to do because it feels good to achieve something. To start with, I want your reinforcement to be heavy. I want it to be every single piece of eye contact reinforced. We are changing a behavior. We are changing something the dog is doing wrong and trying to make it the way that we want it to be. So you will need to reinforce heavily. You do not need big treats for this. Small treats are absolutely fine. So I take pet pate, I cut it up into tiny little pieces, little thin slivers. The dog isn't bothered about the portion size. It's not about filling the dog up. It's about the process of behavior and consequence. They'll start to build in the pattern of, when I do something good, I get the marker word. When I get the marker word, I get my currency, but the portion size doesn't matter. So I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. If in doubt, treat more. You are definitely not reinforcing too much. I've never seen an owner do too much reinforcement. It's always too little. Common mistakes owners make: too much too soon. So we get on a bit of a roll, the training session's going well, and we think, rather than do the 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to do half an hour because the dog will perform it. The dog's going to get bored. So as we build this up, we will fade the reward system, and your dog will have to perform the behavior for longer, and it will become a habit. To begin with, we are quite intensively training the dog, and we want the dog to finish that session wanting more training. We want us to end the session with the dog thinking, I could have done a couple more of those, not I'm bored of this game and I just want to go and sniff something else. Then you start getting instances of lead pulling, then you take a couple of steps back again. Let an occasional pulling slide. So I've told you 0 repetitions of pulling. I go out with owners the next session and they say to me, oh yeah, it's been going all right. I mean, the other day I was in a rush, so then I took him around the block and then he did pull me over here, and we're just going back to square one. Like, you're just undoing all of the work that you've done. All of these sessions have got to be as close to faultless as possible. It's fine to up the criteria, but only when we get to that stage. To begin with, I want this to be super easy for your dog, and I want them to be winning all the time. Taking them to loads of different environments too soon, if it's too distracting and you're trying to get them to do loose lead walking, you're probably going to mess up. At least for this 2 weeks, just kind of make your dog's life a little bit more boring, close their world a little bit so we can just focus on getting this right. Then once we get it right, we can open the world back up again and they can do all of the stuff with you and they can go to the coffee shops and pubs and whatever. But I only want them to do that when the behaviour is where we need it to be. And broken record, you're reducing the reinforcement too soon. Wait for me to tell you when to drop the reinforcement. When you show me you can walk the dog for 5 to 10 minutes and we're not doing any pulling, then we'll start talking about reducing reinforcement rates and how we can scale this up so that you're not constantly having to treat the dog on walks. And if you're one of those people that would like to track this progress and you'd like to be able to see numbers difference, then take your dog out for a normal walk for 10 minutes, see how many times they pull you in 10 minutes. Take them out for the next 2 weeks and track how many times they pull, and you will see that drop down. The frequency of pulling will decrease if you're strict with this and if you follow what I'm saying. So a few common FAQs off the back of that. Will I need treats forever? No, is the simple answer. We are building a new habit. So like you don't need to give your dog treats for them to pull, we are just flipping that on its head. So we'll do the opposite. We'll reduce the treat frequency, but wait for me to tell you when to do that. Don't reduce treat frequency on your own. Wait for me to instruct when to do that, because you will do it too soon, because every owner does it too soon. What about their weight? You don't have to use treats for this. It's reinforcement, but it can be their food. If you've got high quality kibble that you can use that. Like, it doesn't need to be pet pate. Don't use crap treats because it's crap, but it doesn't. Their weight should not go up off the back of this training. You can use some of their daily food allowance for this work. Won't they miss long walks? Yes, they will miss long walks, but this is temporary. This is a couple of weeks I'm asking you to reset the habit. And like I said originally, if this is the dog's main event, so if the dog's main event is a 30 to 45 minute street walk, we're doing it wrong. The dog should get off lead as much as possible. You will be doing recall training with me. But failing that, if you haven't got recall and you can't let your dog off your lead for whatever reason, dog's reactive, dog's an ex-street dog and you don't trust it, whatever, get a long line. Like, get a long line and give the dog the illusion of freedom at least. Drive them to a place, let the dog out, loose lead walk 5 minutes to the field or wherever they're going. Then you go on the long line and you say, off you go, like we did with the sniffing when they walk nicely next to me. Go sniff, go be a dog, do whatever. We're not trying to make the dog's world boring, but we are just saying, whenever you are on this lead, I need you to walk next to me. What if the dog's behaviour gets worse off the back of this? You might find that, like, the dog might start getting frustrated because it's used to being able to pull any direction it wants to, sniff anything it wants, and you just follow it. There will be a level of frustration, but we're going to have to work through it. And there's going to be a little bit of lead pressure. And there's going to be times when your dog doesn't want to do it, but it's a non-negotiable. The behaviour they're currently performing it just doesn't work with our day-to-day living. So we need to fix it. That it may get worse before it gets better. Sometimes that happens. The majority of the time, I find dogs progressively just keep getting better, with maybe the occasional dip. What if I don't have time? I can't hear that. You tell me you don't have time for 2 5 to 10 minute training sessions a day with your dog. You probably shouldn't have got a dog. Or have a look at your screen time and have a look at how much time you're spending on social media, and then come back to me and say you haven't got time. I'm being facetious, I'm being a bit of a dick, but you've got 5 to 10 minutes twice a day to train your dog. Everyone has. Why does my dog do it for you but not me? So I usually demo with my clients the walk and what I want them to do, and the dog will walk perfectly with me. and then the client does it and the dog won't walk as well. This is common, and the reason for that is with me, that dog has got 100% record of those three outcomes. So with me, the dog is never allowed to pull. With me, the dog is allowed to keep moving if it is walking next to me. And with me, the dog will get 100% reinforcement rate because I'm always at the start of the training process. So I'm always at the start of the behavior change. So they are getting a huge reinforcement history for me, and I'm 100% guaranteed payout. So why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I walk nicely when I know this bloke's good for it? I don't call myself the walking buffet for nothing. Like, they know it. They know that I'm good for it. So you need to become that person. You need to become the center of that dog's world and the place where all the good stuff comes from, not me. Last one is my dog just doesn't get it. Like this one is like my dog's broken thinking. Again, I just won't have it. Like, your dog isn't special. You aren't special. I'm not special. Without going too far into like the science of it all, this is basically a mechanical process. And if something isn't working, it's because we're mechanically doing something wrong. I see people who are like, the dog won't do it for me, and then the dog starts to pull and they take like even a step or two forward. That step or two forward means that pulling worked by 2 steps. So there will be something in your handling which is causing it. Sometimes there will be little things that your dog cleverly figures out. So they'll start to chain behaviors in the wrong way, or they'll take the treat and run forward. These are all things that we can troubleshoot as we do our next session. So that's not something to worry about. Like, there will be little quirks that your dog figures out and they try and play the system a little bit. That's fine. We can troubleshoot those, but just try and keep it as clinical and as simple as you can for the dog. Be super intentional about what you do over the next couple of weeks, and that's going to make the biggest change. And then if you're on my foundations program, or if you're on my reactivity program, this is going to yield the biggest result for you. If you can get that dog walking nicely next to you and it's really clear on the expectation of what it should be doing when it's on lead, this is going to be the biggest win. But you've got to be super intentional about getting this changed. I don't care about anything else in this moment in time other than we getting that dog walking calmly and nicely next to us on the lead. Good luck.